Hey, good morning and welcome, my friend, to the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along. As usual, I've got some stuff that, a lot of this morning that I'm going to share with you. Either I didn't have time to share it on the air this morning, or I was a little uncomfortable. I couldn't put it in a. Actually, I don't even want to share this screen on this. I'm just going to read it because there was prolific use of the F word. And so, just to be careful here, I'm going to edit this, but it's a story featuring the president of the Teamsters Union, Sean O'Brien. So, he was on Theo Von's podcast. Theo Von, who's coming to Sioux Falls, I heard this morning. We had commercials running for Theo Von. Coming to Sioux Falls, performing. So he was on Theo Von's podcast, and Sean O'Brien, again, he is the president of the Teamsters Union, saying that the Democrat Party has really, really blanked over the Teamsters. And he said, I'll be honest with you. This is what he told Theo Von. I'll be honest with you. I'm a Democrat, but they have screwed us over for the last 40 years. And for once, not all of them, but for once, we're standing up as a union. Probably the only one right now saying, what in the blank have you done for us? And I'm getting attacked from the left. And we've given, since I've been in office, get a load of this, because this was just like mind-blowing to me. He says, we have given right now, or excuse me, lost my space. This is what happens when I start looking at you instead of watching where I'm at. He said, since I've been in office, we've given 2.5 years. We've given the Democratic machine $15.7 million. We've given Republicans about 340,000, truth be told. So it's like, people say the Democratic Party is the party of the working people. They're bought and paid for big tech, those big tech companies. So in 2.5 years, they gave $15.7 million to the Democrat machine and got screwed over. And he said that he was talking about a conversation between him and Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer. And he said Republicans, he's talking about this, he said Republicans now have a great opportunity to become the party of the working class. And so he's talking about this meeting with Schumer, and he says he got real blanking ugly. And he told Schumer, stop pointing fingers at Sean O'Brien, stop pointing fingers at the Teamsters Union, look in the mirror, he says. I mean, I had a heated debate, a heated discussion 2 weeks ago with Chuck Schumer, and it got blanking ugly. And he said, Chuck Schumer is a piece of, you fill in the blank. And he said, it got ugly because, these politicians, they walk in and they tell you, I did this for you. Okay, great. Let me tell you what you haven't done for us. I'm having to censor the F word here pretty regularly. Let me tell you what you haven't done for us or for our members. And we got into it pretty heavy. And I'm like you, had no problem taking $500,000 from me 3 weeks prior to going to the Republican National Convention. And then you want to be the tough guy on Twitter or X or whatever it is and throw crap out there about me out there. So he is torqued. He is not happy with the Democrat Party, and specifically, he's very unhappy with Chuck Schumer and the way he got treated. And I appreciate this. And I think O'Brien is right. Republicans have a great opportunity to become a party of the working class, because I think the Democrats, for some period of time, have really become all about themselves and all about the power that they hold and they wield. That's what they become about. I think we're seeing that increasingly. Steve says the working man is no longer the Democrat rank and file. They've been traded in for the illegal immigrant crowd. The Democrats need a dependent class, which the working class no longer is. That's a great point. That's great. Steve followed up, giving him some props when they're due. He certainly doesn't take any guff from a politician. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason I bring it up, because I think, even we've got to be able to, when people are saying things that we think are right and they're recognizing problems, because here he is, you got the leader of the Teamsters, and he's talking about problems that he's seeing, in this case with Democrats in particular, and about Democrats no longer being the party of the working class, and pointing that out. Whether we agree with them all the time, some folks think you've got to agree with somebody all of the time. And I wouldn't ever want any of you to feel that way about me. We've got to be in agreement all the time. You and I are going to diverge on things. That's okay. It's the way that the way that we respond. I think we've lost the ability to be able to disagree and not be disagreeable. The Democrats, what's going on in the Democrat Party? They're not representing little people, I think, anywhere. There was also a story from CBS News, and which I wanted to share with you. Let's make sure I get the. Yeah, I think this is it. I'm going to share this video with you before I start getting into the story. So this was, and you can see the headline here, CBS News host clashing with a journalist about his new book on Israel. Now, the reason that he clashes with them is because this book on Israel is completely one-sided. It is absolutely, completely one-sided, favoring the Palestinians, very anti-Israel, and this Jewish anchor on CBS actually calls him out. But I want you to watch the way in which he does it. This is a little less than 2 minutes long, so I'm going to share the audio.
Say when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups?
All kinds of people doing that right now, leaving out all kinds of information.
The Second Intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits. And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk.
I mean, this is like painful.
In my interviews, whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and
this goes. So this is mostly him, but what has happened to this CBS News anchor is that, and I had a number of stories regarding him. Make sure I want to. You know what? Hold on a second. There may have been CBS News is getting a lot of pushback. So this was Tony Dockapole, who is, hold on, I'm going to stop that. Let's pause that. Again, this CBS News anchor is Jewish himself. And what's gone on at CBS is you had people showing up at the network. After this interview, there were a number of people, CBS employees, who showed up and they're angry. Man, they're mad that he challenged. Now, was he disrespectful in any way whatsoever that you just heard? He never raises his voice. He's very solemn. But he just says, there are a good portion. There are a lot of these things you never even bring up in the book. And again, what he's saying was, oh, that's just not being represented. So CBS then, staff members, they promised them a review. They came in and complained. And so they concluded the interview and they said that this whole thing, this whole interview segment did not meet the company's editorial standards. And I thought I had that story. I might not. I had a number of, no, there was a piece at the Free Press on this morning. So I'll stop. There was a piece at the Free Press talking about this. And they say on Monday, we reported that the anchor here was admonished by senior executives. Our reporting was picked up everywhere. Even the New York Times had to acknowledge it. 2 days later, it's still not clear what he did wrong. And again, I just showed the video to you so you could see it for yourself. What did he do wrong? He challenged this guy and said the book is not, there's a total lack of balance in the book, is what he was pointing out. Never got angry, wasn't disrespectful in any way whatsoever. And Free Press says in our world, we call that journalism. But the fallout over the sin of asking the questions. There was a meeting Tuesday morning for the morning show staff, and they had invited a self-described mental health expert, a DEI strategist, and trauma trainer to moderate a conversation with employees about this, talking about it. The meeting went ahead. There was open debate in the meeting about whether it is fair to talk about whether Israel should exist at all. So this is the conversation going on inside of CBS. They're saying they don't believe we should even be talking about whether Israel has a right to exist. This is what they're saying at CBS. And these are so-called journalists. Now, I mean, if you're still asking yourself questions why I don't watch CBS, NBC, CNN, ABC, and any of these hacks, this is absolutely why. I mean, the complete rot that we have seen taking place inside of these television news networks is just absolutely incredible. And this goes on. So much so that Sherry Redstone now, she's the controlling shareholder of CBS's parent company, Paramount Global. So now Paramount's having to get into this because CBS has mucked it up so bad. And Sherry Redstone reacting to this, saying CBS News made a big mistake by rebuking this anchor for that piece that I just showed you. And all of these, that was a big mistake. Well, I appreciate that Paramount is recognizing that that it's about to become a really big problem for them. But this is really one of the reasons I'm spending time on this is it's an illustration of how lost these networks have become. They are absolute and unconnected, not only from journalism. I mean, they are just, wow, out there, but certainly from Main Street and from you and me and the way that you and I might look at things. It's why I do not receive my news. I report on it, news coming from CBS, because it's just so jaw dropping, man. I mean, it just kind of takes your breath away at times. They are just so far removed from reality. And we see so much of that. It's a little bit, and I mentioned it this morning, Kamala Harris on, Stephen Colbert's show, and they're drinking a beer and Trump was a loser. Yeah, Trump's a loser. I mean, here she is running for president, and that's a conversation she's having over a beer with Stephen Colbert on television. And I'm asking this question very sincerely, what relevance does that have to you? That relevant to anybody in the room? I mean, wow. It's just absolutely crazy. This stuff that we see coming from the networks and what they're doing. So Paramount is saying that, CBS is wrong to admonish Tony for the piece that he did. And what he was doing was trying to bring the issue of fairness or balance, and what's wrong with that? When you're a journalist, what's wrong with providing balance? One of the problems that I have with the media right now, and why I consume so little, especially of the broadcast networks. I mean, it's not worth your time because you're not taking any, in many cases, not always, but in many cases, you're not taking anything of value away from their reporting. And it's not reporting, it's propagandizing. And with the reaction from CBS employees who they're upset with Tony for this interview that he did, and they're thinking that, does Israel even have a right to exist at all? That's what they're saying. I mean, that is just so far away, I think, from where most of us live. It's really kind of shocking. Excuse me. Wanted to make sure I mute my mic there. All right, there are a couple of other stories. Donald Trump is responding to Howard Stern and the Kamala Harris interview. The Trump posted on True Social that Stern looked like a real fool. He said beta male Howard Stern made a fool of himself on his low-rated radio show when he interviewed Lion Kamala Harris and hit her with so many softball questions that she was even embarrassed. He looked like a real fool, working so hard to make a totally incompetent and ill-equipped person look as good as possible, which wasn't very good. I dropped Howard a long time ago, like most others, and have since been credited with very good judgment. Trump says. There are also there's some more involving Donald Trump here. Denise, I appreciate the question that Denise is asking. Do they give a class to politicians on how to say nothing and talk in circles? It seems that way, doesn't it, Denise? I absolutely share those feelings. There were some other comments. Let's take a look at Trump's True Social. I want to expand the view here a little bit for you. Have an easier time reading it. Oh, too large. Trump, was talking about CBS News. I went back too far. Hold on a second here. So I want to get back to the beginning of where he was at, because he's going after the what's going this forgive me, bumbling around this as I have got to get to be here we go. Trump reacting to the CBS story earlier this week. What's going on? The CBS News story. And he goes on, you've seen a number of posts here. 60, and again, you start at the bottom, we'll work our way up. 60 Minutes is a major part of the news organization of CBS, which has just created the greatest fraud in broadcast history. CBS should lose its license. I'll stop there. Broadcast networks are not licensed. Individual stations are licensed. So broadcast TV stations are licensed. Broadcast networks are not. They are not licensed. So there's no license here to pull. Trump apparently a little bit gray on that. I want to make sure that you're not. CBS does not have a license. The Kelloland TV has a license, and they're a CBS affiliate. So when the networks make a lot of these errors, oftentimes the networks will wind up, if they put something on the network that's later deemed inappropriate, like they've had some mishaps, for instance, during the Super Bowl. So when you've got, most people ever tuning in is during the Super Bowl broadcast, and they've had some mishaps during their half game shows, and then CBS stepped up and paid a fine. But again, they're doing that on behalf of stations so that individual stations are not getting fined. But the broadcast networks are not licensed by the federal government. The local broadcaster is. So anyway, he's saying CBS should lose its license. It should be bid out to the highest bidder, as should all other broadcast licenses, because they are just as corrupt as CBS, maybe even worse. With me, and he's talking about the 60 Minutes. He's saying they take everything I say, realize how totally brilliant it is, and take it out during the interviews he does. So with Kamala, they add. With Trump, they delete, like the Democrat Party. They are a threat to democracy. This is one of the reasons why I was saying on the air this morning, I think Donald Trump has got to cool things down. He's got to lower the temperature in the room a little bit here. It's, I understand he has faced a lot. He's got states out there that want to see him in jail, Democrats who are doing their best to try to get rid of him. I understand that. Despite that, America is really kind of desperate right now for some clear thinking. So I don't know that going on, so fiercely after CBS is a great idea, but he's saying a giant fake news scam by CBS in 60 Minutes. Now he's talking about the interview that Kamala Harris did, where they are providing CBS, and I've told you about this, providing different answers. Same question by Bill Whitaker, different answers by Kamala Harris. And so Trump is weighing in on this, saying that her real answer was crazy or dumb. So they actually replaced it with another answer in order to make her at least look better. a fake news scam, which is totally illegal, excuse me. Take away the CBS license, election interference. She is a moron. Yeah, I think Donald Trump, again, I'm going to be voting for Trump, right? I'm going to be voting for Trump because there's no way I could vote for Kamala Harris. It just, not going to happen. But Donald Trump, wow, he really has got to lower the temperature on his True Social account, lower the temperature at his rallies, because more and more he's sounding. Now again, excuse me, the when he puts that on True Social, it becomes a story. And I guarantee you I'm going to wind up seeing this because he posted that just this morning. Because I guarantee you those stories are going to be trending coming up tomorrow morning. Will be Donald Trump having another meltdown. This is what Trump said now. Because the media lives for this kind of stuff. Why Donald Trump keeps serving it up to them, is beyond me. Disappointing. I really think he needs to focus. And he's got to focus on you and me. He's got to focus on you and me and the hardships that we're having, what's going on at the border, the prices that we're paying, the economy. He has got to be focused on that and literally nothing else. Anything else, I think, is really just becomes a waste of our time. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I want to thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. If you'll do me a favor and hit that like button, I'll appreciate it twice as much. So I'm going to leave things there for today. I've got to get running up to the studio. I've got to take care of some things up there this morning. So forgive me for cutting it just a bit short. Thanks so much for being here. See you again tomorrow, my friend. So long. Have a great Thursday.